We continue our coverage of the ongoing Nigerian Economic Summit holding in Abuja as we turn to Rhoda Odigboh, who is CEO at Kizazi. It's a pleasure to have you on the news. Thanks for being here. This is day 2. And among other things, Nigeria's headline tax reforms are on the front burner. What problems would you say today's conversations likely solved?
Thanks, Felicity. I would start by saying that what we have unpacked in the last 2 days has reflected why education continues to be an economic strategy and not one that is just focused on skills acquisition or a conversation about education being a social good. All around the sessions and all the conversations we've been having have been centered on the reasons why it's the foundation, and education continues to be the foundation for that economic success for us to move this country forward from one stage to another. We listened to quite a bit of folks who, at various panels, who actually directed all of our attention towards the reasons why these focus on education leads to this trajectory. So if we take, for instance, the fact that we know some data coming out that says that the children ages 4 to 6 are unable, about half of them are unable to read 6 letters or identify 6 letters, then that tells us that there is a foundational crisis, a foundational learning crisis that tracks back to competencies that are required for the world of work. And that tracks directly into our economic development as a nation. So whether it's finding people for jobs, for manufacturing, ICT teaching itself, you would find that we're not yet at the stage where we have the competencies required for people to enter into the labor market. And even the jobs and productivity reports reflects that yes, we're creating jobs as a country, but what kind of jobs are we creating? Do we want jobs or do we want better jobs? And so all the conversations have led directly to let us, really unpack the fact that education as a skills, unit of nation development is the right technique, the right focus for us to drive economic development. And that's what this summit in the past 2 days has really focused on in some of the sessions. And we can hear it even in other sessions that is connecting education with health and agriculture and food, and that ecosystem that really drives, what we need to get the Nigerians to, create a country that is economically viable.
Yeah, what were some of the projections that we're giving as to how we can improve our workforce via better quality education, which is at the heart of the submission you've made? Without it, we probably are just dancing around in circles.
We did hear quite a bit. We heard about, just the fact that first we have that foundational learning crisis, and the fact that the focus has to be on getting it right. That the industry and the education sector has to meet and commit to, first of all, seeing education as an investment and not a charity case. And so we're hearing a lot around that being the nexus for us to drive a workforce that requires a set of skills that will get us to the next phase, which is economic development, as this summit tends to put out. And so the focus really continues to be, how do we get our people, Nigerians, to be well educated across the breadth of skill areas, whether it's those at the vocational education level, or whether it's those that we require as a set of skills and mindsets that is required for us to move to those levels. Education continues to be the center and the heart of why. Why do people need a set of skills? Why do they need to read? Why do they need to write? Why do they need to have simple computation? And that directly tracks to everything else as the bedrock for enabling our people, our young people, to enter into industry, to enter into commerce, to enter into any labor workspace that is, that the opportunities exist.
With a growing population like we have here, we just saw our interview with the former CBN governor, the Emir of Kano, and he talked about the fact that our population is growing faster than our economy. How do we balance that really in terms of education, making sure it gets to the right people? In an earlier conversation, he also talked about how this impacts on our approach to malnutrition. We wait until these children are malnourished and before we act, and this also impacts their growth. So what is perhaps your organization will be suggesting as models we can follow?
Amazing question. So what we do at Kizazi is really precisely this, around this question. And the work is centered around whole child development, which says that the social contract between a family or a mother, a father, an uncle, whoever is the guardian of the child, between that person and the institution called education, whether it's a school or wherever they find themselves in the space of learning, that social contract says that everything the child comes with matters in the delivery of the education that they should receive. So at the heart of the work is academics plus well-being plus nutrition plus safety. And that's where it all comes together to tie into what we consider as whole child, whole adolescent development. And so it is really that relationship and the nexus between all of these pieces or pillars, for lack of better words, is where education, what we do. We say that with academics, with feeding, which is the right food, feeding program that children should have in schools, with understanding that their well-being matters and their safety, that they can leave home and get back to school and get to school and get back home to their families, is important. And so whether it's the intersection of community engagement, whether it's health and nutrition, as it affects the feeding and the school programs that the sort of feeding programs that should.
Rhoda, I honestly wish we had more time to explore your thoughts on this subject. We do thank you for being here, though, and appreciate the time, the contribution you'll be able to share from the summit. Thank you once again.